everybody to today's class. Today we're looking at phrasal verbs again. We're looking at phrasal verb clusters. Now these phrasal verbs are taken from the back of my book, which I am pleased to say is now ready. If you go to skypelessons.com, that's Skype lessons with a hyphen, skypelessons.com/English courses / I'll put a link under the video, of course, to my website. You can find this phrasal verbs book, and this phrasal verbs book is very long. It's got 450 pages. There are more than 250 images inside the book, so I hope that will help to draw out some of the subtle nuances of these verbs. And there are a lot of chapters in there. Certainly all the chapters, all of the lessons that I've done, phrasal verbs with bring, phrasal verbs with come, phrasal verbs with put, do, keep, be, they're all in the book. And at the end of the book I have a revision section, antonyms and synonyms and clusters. So if anybody would like to get that book, I'm offering it at the moment on my website for £20. Now I know that's quite a lot of money, especially for an ebook. This is an ebook we're talking about, it's a PDF. But the PDF is very long, it's 450 pages. 350 of those are exercises. The last 100 are answers to the exercises. And to make sure that it's a good deal for you, for a limited period, I will offer 3 ebooks as well. Mindhunter, House of Cards and Line of Duty will be thrown into that. So for £20 you'll get visual phrasal verbs, the whole book in an e-version. It's got lovely links inside that Yuri did for me. Thanks very much, Yuri. He did the layout of the book, so it all works as an ebook. You can click straight and you get straight through to the answers section so that you can see exactly what the answers are for your exercise. So it's a fully functioning ebook, and because I had to spend a lot more money to get it all sorted out, and I've checked it for mistakes a few times, so it's done in a more professional way than my previous ebooks. So I hope that makes you realise that it is worth the money. So if you go to that website, I'll put the link below after I finish this. This is a live class, so I can't put the link up, but it is www.skype-lessons.com/English-courses, I think, but you'll have to check that. So we're doing phrasal verb clusters today. We're going to start with to introduce something new. So all of these have got in except for one which has got out. So if something is ushered in, if something ushers a period of history in, then it introduces a period of history. This is very much used with periods of history and epochs, eras, that kind of thing. So you might say that the drop in house prices has ushered in a new era for home buyers, something like that, meaning a new period of history. The drop in house prices has made it different for prospective home buyers. Okay, so this really does mean to introduce a new period of history. You might say the Industrial Revolution ushered in a new era in human history, and of course it did. Or the electric light bulb was an invention that ushered in a new period of history. The car, the motor car, ushered in a new period of history. Now if you phase something in, you do it slowly, over stages, several stages. So perhaps a new law may need to be phased in slowly. Okay, and it just means it isn't done in one step, it's done slowly over several stages. So it's exactly the same as the next two, but the next two don't mean slowly and they don't mean in several stages. If you bring something in, it means you introduce something new, but it's usually legislation or laws. Okay, the government can bring in a new law, or they can bring in some new legislation, and they can also roll out new legislation, and it means exactly the same thing. Okay, roll out legislation, but you could roll out a product. Apple can roll out their latest iPhone, so it means launch, roll something out. Okay, I would actually say Apple have brought out their latest iPhone if I was going to use bring. I wouldn't say brought in. For launch, I would certainly say roll out or bring out. Okay, so that's bring something out. You might want to remember that one as well. And lastly, you can bring in customers. You can bring in new customers. And here it means something very similar to reel somebody in. By the way, if people are wondering what is STH, it's something, and SV is someone, somebody. I've changed these. You know that I usually do S.O and S.T. Well, a friend of mine pointed out that that's not correct, and that actually I should be doing it like this, like the dictionary does it. So I've changed it, and you'll find it like this in my phrasal verbs book as well. Okay, spend. Got lots of ways for saying spend. You can splash out £50 on a new, I don't know, a new, what costs £50? Not much nowadays. You can splash out £500 on a new computer. You can fork out money, but remember, this is, when you splash out, you spend happily. You spend a lot of money, but you do it happily because it's something that you want. So my son would like to splash out on a PlayStation 4. But when you fork out, you don't want to do it. So at the moment, it's April. It's that time of the year where a lot of self-employed people are thinking about taxes. And so we have to fork out money on our taxes. I'm not sure how much I'll have to fork out, and I'm not going to say on a public video, but let's just say for argument's sake, somebody has to fork out a few thousand on their taxes. Okay, and that would obviously, nobody likes paying their taxes. I don't think anybody finds it pleasant. Okay, if you pay something off, you completely pay a debt. Usually it's a debt. So we would all like to pay off our mortgages, yeah? Then we don't have to keep paying this monthly payment to the bank. I would like to pay off my mortgage sooner rather than later, because then I'll be happy and I can use that money for something else. Now, if you're saving up, you are saving and saving and saving to buy something good. So I told my son when he said he wanted a PlayStation 4 that he would have to save up for it. He'd have to do lots of jobs, put aside some money every week, set aside some money every week, and eventually he'll be able to buy what he wants. So all of these are about saving. Save up money, put money aside, put money by, set money aside, set money by. They all mean save money. So these aren't really spending, these are saving. All the rest are spending. These three are spending. Okay? Come to means amount to. I put it on here because it's a phrasal verb connected to money. That's the main reason. Okay, if you share the work or share the cost of something, you can use these phrasal verbs. You can say we all chipped in £50 to buy, I'm not sure, perhaps we chipped in £50 to buy some kind of, well, to rent a property for a few days. Perhaps you're going on holiday. I did this recently and we all chipped in some money to share the house for a few days. It was some members of my family and I who chipped in some money to share the house. You can say we all put in £50 and shared the house. So put in, it's just like chip in. We all put in some money, we all chipped in some money to share the cost. So notice that you chip in money, but you go in on something. So we all went in on the cost of the house. We all went in on the house. You can also go in on a pizza. Yeah, let's say you're hungry, but you don't want a whole pizza. So you decide to go in on a pizza with a friend and you both chip in £5 and you manage to go in on a pizza and you half the pizza. So you can also say we clubbed together to buy the pizza. This one doesn't have an object, it's intransitive, but it means the same. It means to share the cost of something. So we clubbed together to buy a pizza. The last two involve work, and if you pitch in, you all help to get some kind of job done. So you all pitch in, you all do a little bit of work to get some kind of job done. And if you need help to get some kind of job done, you need to involve other people. So you need to rope some others in. You need to rope some other people in order to finish off the job. So this one just means involve other people, rope someone in. It makes me think of a cowboy with a lasso roping somebody in. But it just means to involve that, to get a few other people involved in your project, whatever that be. Okay, publicly declare. If you blurt something out or let something out, that means that you reveal a secret. You let some people in on your secret. So this is usually when you put your foot in your mouth. Yeah, you blurt something out. We have the idiom to put your foot in your mouth. And it means to say something you shouldn't have said. And the same with blurt something out. Perhaps you're very drunk one night and you blurt something out that you regret. Normally it's used in that kind of situation. Now, if you come out with remarks, comments, scathing remarks perhaps, or barbed comments, that just means that you surprisingly say something. But I want to make it clear here that the something, it collocates very well with remarks and comments. He came out with an odd remark, he came out with a peculiar comment. It just means he said, he made this remark, he made this comment. So please separate this one from come up with, which means to think up, to have a good idea. Come out with is a speaking phrasal verb. Now, if you speak out against something, that means you are against something and you're criticising something publicly. This is public criticism. So you might say the minister, the foreign minister, has spoken out against his political enemies, whoever they are. He has come out against abortion. If he's against abortion, he has come out against abortion. That means he has publicly criticised abortion. Now, I've also put this one here, even though it's not really publicly declared, but I think it's very often used in politics and in the newspapers. And it just means demands or requires, call for. So you might say the situation calls for emergency funding. Yeah, you need lots of money quickly, urgently, because the situation calls for more money. It needs more money. It demands more money. We say desperate times call for desperate measures. And again, it's kind of idiomatic, but we just mean that when you're in a terrible situation, you're going to have to do a lot to get out of it. Yeah, you need to act in an extreme way to get out of that terrible situation. So desperate times call for desperate measures. Removal from a surface now. If you jump off something, roll off something, get off something, that all means removal from a surface. So you can jump off a bike, you can jump off a fence, you can jump off a diving board, you can roll off something as well. You can roll off the sofa, you can get off the sofa. Okay, so there are other typical nouns that collocate with them. If you fall off something, that means you fall off the surface. You can fall off your bike, you can fall off your sofa, you can fall off your chair. But compare it with fall out of. You've got to be inside something to fall out of it. So you can fall out of the window. You can fall out of the car because you're inside them. I mean, hopefully you don't fall out of the car because that would be very dangerous. But you can also fall out of a tree because you're in the tree. When you climb a tree, you go into the tree, we think anyway. And so you fall out of the tree, but you fall off the branch. Okay, we say he fell off the branch, but he fell out of the tree. Okay, tear, rip and bite off. They all mean removal from a surface. If something tears your arm off, it tears it off of the surface that is your body. So it makes sense. But a wild animal, a lion, could bite your arm off or could rip it off. Okay, so they're all very useful. And do compare them with the other ones like rip up, cut up, tear up, which just means into many pieces. And also rip out of, cut out of, tear out of. In which case that would mean that perhaps there's a picture in a magazine and you cut it out of the magazine. It's inside the magazine and you cut it out of the magazine. So it's not the same as cut off, where it's removal from a surface. It means removal from inside something, just like the difference between fall off and fall out of. Now, if you peel something off, you're peeling off the skin maybe. Perhaps it's a fruit and you need to peel off the skin. Perhaps it's an orange, yeah, and you peel off the skin. But we also say that your skin peels during summer when it's very hot. So your skin starts peeling off. It starts coming off of the surface. And if something is giving something off, it's emitting a gas or a strange smell, a smell of some description. So rotten eggs give off a horrible smell. Nobody likes it. It's pretty disgusting. But an engine which is broken in a car might give off a strange smell. Okay, so give off for emit a gas. If you're a chemist and you add two different solutions, you might see some bubbling and a gas may be given off. It might be hydrogen gas or sulfur dioxide or something like that, but a gas is given off. Now, if you're sorting out your schedule, you might put something off, which means make it later. You might bring something forward, which means make it earlier. Yeah, both of those are possible with your schedule. If I bring forward one of my lessons, I make it earlier than it was originally intended to be. And if I put it off, I make it later. And if I call it off, I cancel it. I say there is no lesson, we're calling off the lesson. And if I pencil somebody in, that means provisionally put someone in my schedule, but with the understanding that things may change. Okay, it's when you put somebody provisionally into your schedule, but you know that things may change. So it's when somebody is not sure that they're going to be available and they say, can you pencil me in for that time, but I might get in touch in a few days and ask you to put it off or bring it forward. Okay, eating and drinking. If you gobble or eat something up, you eat very, very quickly. Yeah, gobble up and eat up. In fact, it's not quite the same. If you eat something up, you eat it all, you eat it entirely. And so we try to get children to eat up their dinner, yeah, eat it all, eat it entirely and not leave bits and pieces. But if you gobble something up, it sounds to me like it's very fast as well. The same with wolf something down. Wolf something down means eat something very fast, and gulp something down means drink something very fast. I forgot to put one up here actually, just suddenly thought of it. So if gulp something down is drink very fast, and wolf something down is eat very fast, sip at is drink very slowly, sipping at his beer, yeah, just having a few sips. Peck at is eat very slowly. So notice that they both have the same preposition, sip at and peck at, okay? Both of them mean slowly, in small quantities, yes? Sipping at a glass of wine or pecking at your food, it means eating or drinking slowly and in small portions. Polish something off means completely finish again. It's like eat something up. So there might be a few cakes left on the plate and you decide to polish them all off. Why not? Best not to let them go to waste. Ignoring now. Now this is a really important section. Some of these are some of my favourite phrasal verbs are down here. So if you gloss over details, you ignore the details. You pretend that they're not important. Politicians are famous for glossing over the details because they don't want you to, well, they don't want to go into detail. Very often the details are inconvenient or they're not particularly nice for them to talk about, yeah, and so they will gloss over the details. They don't want anybody to know the inconvenient details, the unpleasant facts, and so they will gloss over the details. They also might skirt around the truth, which just means avoid the truth, avoid it. So journalists are famous for avoiding the truth, politicians are famous for avoiding the truth. So you could use this one with either of those groups. Anyone who's avoiding the truth skirts around the truth. But skirt around means physically avoid, and if you skirt around something, you go around it to make sure you avoid it. Okay, shrug something off means ignore someone's comments or criticism. If you just shrug it off, you pretend that those comments or that criticism is unimportant, totally unimportant to you. So you just shrug off comments or shrug off criticism. Again, politicians are famous for doing this, but anybody in the newspapers who's regularly ignoring comments or criticism or something, you can say he shrugged off those comments, he shrugged off that criticism. And the same goes for brush something off. But brush something off is not just used with something, it's also used with someone. Brush someone off. Shrug isn't. You only shrug things off. You don't shrug people off. But you can shrug things off. And it means like ignore it. You know, it's just like shrug it off. We have this expression, water off a duck's back. You know, when something is water off a duck's back, usually it's used to mean that an insult doesn't matter to somebody. They don't care about these insults. It's water off a duck's back. Well, they shrug off these insults. They don't care. They don't get upset about these insults. They shrug them off. Okay, and brush something off would be the same. But brush someone off means to ignore, well, to get rid of someone. Maybe somebody comes to your door and knocks on the door and you brush them off with a lame excuse. You fob them off with a lame excuse. And it's very dismissive. You dismiss them. you get rid of them with some kind of lame excuse or some kind of reason to get rid of them, but you just don't want to talk to them. So you are ignoring them, you're getting rid of them, you're dismissing them with both of these two. Lastly, we've got explain something away, and if anyone's got some questions, now's a good time to start writing them down. But if you explain something away, it means you try to find reasons and explanations for something in order to find some kind of explanation that will make people happy, but it might not be the correct explanation. It might not be the right explanation. And you just use these things to explain something away as if it were unimportant, but it sounds like it probably is important, and you're just explaining it away with excuses again. Quite a hard one for me to explain something away, but let me try to give you an example. So perhaps, again, I'm going to use a politician. Perhaps there's a minister and he's been criticised for, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps there's not enough money going into the health service. And he's been criticised about this, but he just explains the lack of funding away with a number of excuses, as if it were unimportant. So he just explains the lack of funding away. Okay, is that clear? I hope it's clear. If you have any questions now is the time to put them up, because I've got a lesson very, very soon, and so I've got to come off of the live broadcast, unfortunately. But I hope you're all rushing to the website already to buy this book, the Phrasal Verbs book. I'll actually have it as a physical copy on Monday, and so I will hold it up to prove to you all that it is a real thing. But if there are no other questions, okay, thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate your support. Please subscribe, like, etc., etc., and even more importantly, buy my book.